Let us pray. Eternal Father, we're so thankful for this day. Thank you for safe travels to this place. Father, we thank you for the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Father, we can stand today and give you thanks for all the great strides we have made since his walk on this earth. While we are encouraged by his legacy today, while we stand today, we understand there are still problems that exist in our world today. Father, I'm asking you right now to put someone that's watching or put somebody in this room to be the very solution to the problem that exists. We know that you brought us this far. We encourage you to take us further. While we have to speak today, encourage our hearts and minds to give us the tools we need to do to the cause. We so careful to all the praise, glory, and honor. Amen.
Where tigers are really shaped and formed, we are truly the place where everybody is somebody. Greetings, I am Ashley Gavin, the 67th Miss Grambling State University, and I would like to welcome you to the MLK program, to my royal court as well. It is my privilege to welcome you to the annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. Dr. King was born on January 15, 1929. That means he will be celebrating his 92nd birthday if he were alive today. Unfortunately, his life was shortened by assassin's bullet in 1968. Some years after his death in 1983, our nation rallied and passed a law that established a national holiday in his honor, which is now observed on the third Monday in January each year. As a tribute to his contributions to improve the condition of Black citizens, in particular in America, and others around who suffer from discrimination and exploitation in general. Today, as we gather to celebrate his life, I will leave you to ponder on one of his most famous quotes and how it can impact your life. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. I believe that it is in this quote that is challenging us to do whatever it is in your power to keep moving forward, making steady and relentless progress no matter what challenges we face. Thank you.
his people. Such a servant was Martin Luther King Jr., born on January 15, 1929, whose life and legacy we now celebrate. We are deeply thankful to God for this 20th century prophet. May the wisdom and words of Martin Luther King Jr. rekindle our faith. May the deep love that Dr. King had for all people be released in us, that we, too, might work miracles in the lives of those who continue to hate. Dr. King taught that only love can overcome hatred, bitterness, and fear. May his struggle for social transformation continue in his generation. May all people come to believe that with perseverance, we shall overcome. But let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. May the work of Dr. King continue to eradicate racial injustice and its ungodly consequences. Dr. King pursued his dream for racial equality by appealing to the conscience of his enemies. May we continue to cultivate the nonviolent discipline of Dr. King, abandoning unrestrained acts of force. He taught us that a heart full of grace and love is just as important as an education. May the spirit of Dr. King continue to flow through our daily living. He believed in self-respect and dignity, even though he knew that there would be difficult days ahead. May we have the courage of Dr. King as we continue to stand up for justice, reconciliation, and truth, despite challenge and controversy. Dr. King said that war is never a victory, regardless of the outcome. May the peace of the risen Christ cause the fury of war to vanish from the face of the earth. Dr. King went to the mountaintop. He saw the promised land, and he reassured us that we would get there one day. God of glory be with us on the journey.
Good evening. I am Malika Watson, the president of the Bayfront Student Union Board, and I will be introducing our speaker. At 36, Martin Mill is the executive vice president and chief operating officer at Waterloo State University, making him one of the higher education's youngest executive leaders. Martin has managed finance and operations for Fortune 500 organizations, technology startups, and nonprofits. Martin is a magna cum laude graduate of Waterloo University with a BS in accounting. He received his MBA from George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and is a doctoral candidate at the Business Science Institute in Berry Springs. True to his commitment to service, Lamel is an international awardee and brother of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. In 2020, Martin was the Democratic endorsed candidate for the U.S. Congress in Louisiana's Youth Congregation Leadership. From managing billion-dollar enterprises to leading brand campaigns with Beyonce, Adidas, and Kendra Chocolate, Lamel is a modern thought leader with a unique ability to engage diverse audiences. Give a hand for Mr. Martin Lamel.
Well, good evening, Grammy. Few are gathered, but we are mighty. Good evening, Grammy.
Good evening.
On behalf of President Gallo and the entire Graham fam, we are honored to celebrate the life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I want to take this evening and expound for just a bit on an event that took place in 1963. That event is the March on Washington. So for just a brief moment tonight, I want to talk to you about the March on Washington and 5 lessons for transformative change. Granted. 1963, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. As we engage in this flashback, I stand with an immediate sense of irony at the foreshadow of today's present reality.
You see, in 2021, we're still fighting for jobs and freedom. As the Biden-Harris administration prepares to lead America, 10.7 million Americans are unemployed. And with the recent riot at the Capitol, this land of the free, this Grambling, the home of the brave, it takes on a familiar yet singular focus. See, like Hughes, I too am still singing, America. Have you not noticed the beauty that resides in the souls of black folk? We've ascended to the highest offices in the land, speak their names, Barack, Kamala, and the world understands. Back to 1963, leading up to the March on Washington, civil rights leaders, including Dr. King, met with President Kennedy and decided to end the march at the Lincoln Memorial instead of the Capitol, so as not to make members of Congress feel as if they were under siege. Oh, you may have missed that part, Dr. Hams, I'll say it again. They decided to end this march at the Lincoln Memorial so as not to make members of Congress feel as though they were under siege. What a contrast, ladies and gentlemen. My, what a contrast. See, their focus was pure and simple. Two ideals, jobs and freedom. Jobs and freedom. So as we anchor our celebration in the legacy of Dr. King, I want to extend a gratitude to the platform of pioneers who joined him on that day. Oftentimes before we RSVP to an event or we get the text about the kickback, we ask our close confidence, well, who's all over it? Well, let me tell you, on August 28, 1963, it was a day where over 250,000 people gathered at the Lincoln Memorial to witness history. Leading up to Dr. King's famous I Have a Dream speech was a host of civil rights leaders and icons. A. Philip Randolph, founder of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, was one of the early speakers that day. Now, it's important to note that the March on Washington is a result of Randolph, King, and several organizers agreeing to combine their efforts into a single demonstration. Lesson number one, you're taking mental notes or writing with the pen. Your tribe plus your goals equals the win. Your tribe plus your goals equals the win. Randolph's early work as a labor organizer provided the foundation for what we know today as the EEOC. In his remarks at the march, he echoed, "We here today are only the first wave. When we leave, it will be to carry the civil rights revolution home with us into every nook and cranny of the land. And we shall return again and again and again to Washington in ever-growing numbers until freedom is ours." My questions today are simple. Who are you building with? And where are you going? You see, DBW Week is great. Capital Week is everything you could ask for. But what happens at the intersection of collaboration is really where the money resides, where the ideas come to life, and yes, where true change happens. Lesson number two, find composure in chaos. There's no better example of composure in chaos than the March on Washington's chief organizer, sometimes a forgotten and silent figure, Bayard Rustin. As Michael G. Long's accounts, Rustin organized the march in an 8-week period, without cell phones, without email, without faxes. While King spoke as the face of the civil rights movement, Rustin stood behind the scenes, an indispensable force within the movement. Bayard Rustin was a man whose life was shaped by the very prejudices the movement fought against, not only because of his race, but also because he was gay. Rustin would spend his life fighting for the rights of others, even while facing discrimination of his own. So how do you remain composed against the backdrop of racial and social unrest, discrimination, and marginalization? Where is the line drawn for your profile in courage? To find your composure in chaos, I offer the words of Rustin. If I go and I sit quietly at the back of that bus, that child who was so innocent of race, who have seen so many blacks go in the back and sit down quietly, that they'll end up saying they like it back there. I've never seen anybody protest against it. Composure in chaos is protest with a plan and a purpose that leads to change. Lesson number 3, you have to speak truth to power. Addressing the crowd on that day was a young leader. At a mere 23 years old, John Lewis's remarks were representative of what would become what he was known for: inspiring, good trouble. Lewis spoke truth to power. As leader of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, he challenged the Civil Rights Bill's exclusion of authority to rein in, among other things, police brutality. This is 1963. In our modern movement of Black Lives Matter and the importance of the names we speak today, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, George Floyd, Rashad Brooks, the imperative of speaking truth to power has never been more important. We can champion for equal pay and still demand protection from police brutality. We can fight for affordable and accessible health care and still seek to eradicate poverty. As Brandon Tinsley wrote for CNN, as a society, we're so readily taught about Lewis and his peers' efforts to dismantle segregation that we often miss the scope of their rebuke of America's sins, and in the scope of their vision for building a better world. You have to speak truth to power. Lesson number 4, allow space for a little course correction. Though it has become known as the famous "I Have a Dream" speech, this famous sequence and line was not in Dr. King's prepared remarks. After delivering a resounding rendition of "I've Been Duped and I've Been Scorned," Miss Davis, the wonderful choir gospel legend Mahalia Jackson shouted out to him, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." Oh, you know that point, Dr. Dean Wade, that course correction moment that comes when someone or some event that is sent as a positive disruption to your plan. It's artful and divine, so much that even one of history's greatest orators had his course altered through the gifting of a black woman and the power of music. Graham Fam, in the audience and those who may be watching later, allow space for course correction and some positive disruption. Clarence Jones, advisor and speechwriter for Dr. King, described this moment as capturing lightning in a bottle. And that's lesson number 5. How do you capture your lightning in a bottle? Being in this auditorium is a special place for me. It's a place where I was fortunate to graduate high school. A place where I participated in debates and coronation and talent shows and you name it. This place where everybody is somebody is hallowed and sacred ground. So I want to recap what we spoke about today and talk again about these 5 lessons. The first of which is you've got to get a tribe, plus some goals for your win. My HBCU, GSU, is where I cultivated my tribe. My relationship with the gentlemen who I now serve and work with each and every day started right here on this campus. And so you've got to develop a circle and a sphere of influence that's going to propel you to where you're going. Lesson number 2, again, find composure in chaos. In 2020, amidst the backdrop of a global pandemic, racial and social unrest, I found myself at a strategic inflection point and decided to run for U.S. Congress. Chaos and composure. And so as you think about your dreams, the validity of your dreams, the inspiration that you hold today, you have to go forward. Dig deep, go wide, live boldly, love out loud, and find your composure amidst the chaos. Lesson number 3, speak truth to power. When you leave Grambling State University, you will enter into the world prepared to change it, prepared to take your seat at a corporate boardroom, in a classroom, in a law office, wherever you choose to go. But use your voice. Someone is counting on you to speak truth to power. Your diversity, thought, idea, and ethnicity is what makes you unique. It is your black girl magic. It is your black boy joy. Speak truth to power. Lesson number 4, allow space for some course correction. There's a difference between how it started and how it's going. You have to focus on your passion and allow yourself to be the best in class, the best in the business. That means at times taking a different turn and a different direction. Walk with faith, not with fear. And again, lesson number 5, capture your lightning in a bottle. When I was offered the opportunity to return home to Grambling, Louisiana, Grambling State University, I prayed long and hard about this journey. The words of Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, ring true and clear. It says, when you get offered a seat on the rocket ship, you don't ask what seat. You go and you figure out the rest. Grambling State University, in the past almost 5 years, we've gone to higher ground, achieved deeper depths. And it's because of you, because of your work, your investment in this institution, that Grambling State University is building the architect of what's next. And so I implore each and every one of you, students here today, I want you to leave GSU with your job and freedom. Freedom to do and be all that you are destined to be. I leave you with the words of Bob Goff. Do the simple and the impossible at the same time. We love you, Dr. King. We hope you're proud. Thank you for the light. God bless you, and God bless dear old Greg.
Greetings. I'm your Miss CoverGirl 2020-2021, Grace Powell. It is with great honor that we are here to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It is truly a special occasion. On behalf of the Favorite Student Union Board, we would like to present this gift to Mr. Ramel. Thank you. And this is the token Bible.
Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you, Pharaoh, Student Union Board. Much love.
Well, I marched through the storm, and I marched through the rain, and I marched through some sickness and some heartache and pain. And I laid on the ground, and I looked up at the sky, and I prayed to the Lord above and asked why. But oh no, I'm not tired, I'm not through marching yet. I'm gonna march until I die, oh children, this you can bet. I'm gonna march on. I'm gonna put one foot in front of the other foot. I'm gonna march on. Well, my granddaddy marched and my grandmama too, but I never thought it'd be something that I'd have to do. But I'll march if I must, I'm on a mission, you see, and I'll be damned if my children have to march for me. Now I believe in the power of raising my voice, and I believe in the power of making some noise. If I die, I can sing, and if I can't sing, I'll die, so we can sing for one another. Now let's say I'm gonna sing I got to keep on keeping on, keep on marching on, yeah. Oh, I'm gonna use my body for good. Oh, I'm gonna march on, march on, march on. Say, Lord, we need you. Oh, Lord, we need you. All over this nation, we need you. All over this nation, we need you. Lord, we need you to walk with us. Oh, we need you to talk with us.
The one who can just pick on anyone. confused by cynics. Optimism is not hoping and wishing, it's knowing and going and seeing and showing and believing and being. It's knowing that you was promised greater and going to get it. It's seeing brighter times and showing blind. It's believing that dreams are divine conversations and being the personification of those divine conversations. See, optimism is not just hopes and freedoms. It's knowing that the yellow brick road was behind the lion's den, through the forest of attack dogs, over the mountain of supremacy, through the valley of the shadow of death, under the monsoon of naysayers, and still tying up your boots and saying, follow me. It's meeting the Wizard of Oz and telling him you are not my God. Standing on the shoulders of ancestors just to get a better view of heaven. See, optimism is a verb. It's an action. It's seeing your way out of the unforeseeable. It's faith's call to action. It's a little black boy from Chicago who wrote his way out. Saw the beauty in his people, in his city, and just wouldn't shut his mouth. You are looking at a lucid dream, found proud in his heritage and never seemed to undermine others, and still never succumbed to mediocrity, not as long as there's still black boys in that city that look just like me, who've yet to see an optometrist. So the optimism is a little bit blurry. Too much gunpowder packed up in the corners of their retinas. Too many corners, too much survivors, guilt to sleep coming to the morning, maybe never. Because nightmares run rampant, so vision is a little obscured. It's a little bleeding. Just like the resources that you're surrounded by. Imagine that's the type of folk that you're surrounded by on a daily basis. I mean, you want to be a life that you're an isolated oasis and you're swallowed up by the swamp struggle. And all of a sudden, your character gets inverted. And this is no city for the introverted, so you speak now and forever hold your peace. The epidemic of the pessimistic. I mean, how contagious is it? I mean, either you become a warrior or a witness. What's the point of waiting on the right time, the time that never waited on you? Life moves on with and without you. So you might as well have a say. Dreams are a beacon of light, and dreams are lifetimes. This world is made up of oceans, but some folk can swim through the water. But some folk are just waiting in the water for you to shine your light so they can wade in the water. This is the life of life. Dreams illuminate the night. So go ahead and shine your light so the day can be illuminated. Dream. Be and hold your light. Be. Deep in the corners, where the light leaves after fighting with walls and clouds, is a forgotten people. This corner is similar to Plato's cave, except the forgotten know the light. They even play shadow puppets with it. They just don't believe it belongs to them. people of the light shine and sing songs of freedom. The forgotten songs sound like